Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ForNAV Direct Print webinar. Today we'll talk about the background, why we are entering the direct print market, and also some history. So back when I worked at Navision and also later at Microsoft, I gave the same career advice over and over to people working for me and other people. Don't work on print and integration because you end up destroying a perfect career. And of course, the background is that integration and print both entail working with infrastructure, security, scalability, and tons of other stuff. And all of them can break and fall back on you. And even though you think you're done, some customer will probably call you and say that it doesn't work, and now you have to spend days on figuring out what's wrong. And on print, it's even worse because you have to deal with flaky printer drivers and network connectivity and so on. But the paradox, of course, is that if you're on the ERP business, you have to do print and integration because that's what the customer expects, and that's what ERP is all about. Also, the background from this is that Navision and later Business Central moved away from the Windows client and to the web client. And thanks goodness for that, because if you look back at other products who are still with the Windows client, they are all discontinued. And the only way moving forward for Business Central was to get to the cloud and have a web client, because otherwise you're dead in this market. So now we have to live with the realities of being in the web client. And of course, today you can see that you can print from Business Central. But what you get is that you get a preview dialog with a PDF view, and then you have to press print out of that. And for a lot of customers, this is perfectly okay. But if you are a big customer and also have people working in the warehouse, you probably want something that can print directly without customer interaction or end user interaction. And this is what this is all about today. So when we start looking at this, we saw that there was different options for solving these problems, but more or less all of them have different flakiness built into them. So again, if you want to set up such solutions, you sometimes have to deal with as an Active Directory. You have to install special printer drivers, and there's a lot of infrastructure set up in this, which takes time, and also it's very hard to debug and figure out if there's something wrong in it. Also, a lot of these solutions do fire and forget. So once you've printed and stuff comes out at the printer side, it's okay. But if it's not, it's very hard to figure out where your document is. Is it stuck in a web server somewhere and some infrastructure, or is it simply the printer which is offline? Also, security is a very big issue in here. Back in the old days where hackers didn't exist and the internet was the future, this was not a problem, but today people can pick up your communication, and we have seen examples of email print where emails have been picked up and people have been tampering with the account information. So suddenly the stuff that you are supposed to get into, the money you are supposed to get into your bank account, ends up somewhere in China or other parts of the world, which is really bad. Also, suddenly moving to this world, you have to pay for printing. It's not enough to pay for paper and ink anymore. You also have to pay for infrastructure when you do this. Also, when we look back at the how you printed in the old days, you could go into the printer dialog in the classic client and select paper bins and other nice stuff. Simply, that's difficult today, and you're not allowed to do this in this cloud world. But even though a lot of new customers go to cloud on Business Central, and cloud is extremely important, so is on-prem, there's a lot of customers still out there, and they also want a solution for doing this. But let's go and look how we have solved this. And today I brought with me, of course, Jakob and Jan, who's going to present our solution of how to do direct print on Business Central.
Thank you, Michael. Good introduction, and I'm sorry I didn't hear your career advice earlier, but anyway, now we're here. So I know some of you are familiar with ForNAV, and some of you are not. But those of you who are, you know that we have these. We used to have 3 areas: our report pack, our designer, and our converter. And even though we have had direct print for quite some time already, with ForNAV 6.2, we have sort of put it all together and really improved a lot. So we actually added it as a 4th pillar to our communication. So now you will also see ForNAV Direct Print as one of the things that we talk about on an ongoing basis. So let me start where Michael sort of ended and look at some customer scenarios. And this nice guy's working in a warehouse, having some big gloves on. Of course, it would be rather painful for his productivity if he had to go to the PC and press enter on a PDF or print on a PDF for every single picking list or for every single label that he needs when he's shipping things. So this is really a significant productivity issue for some customers. And again, if you are selling physical goods, there's a pretty good high likelihood that you do have boxes, that you do need labels, that you do need picking lists, and so on. Another scenario is, of course, the cash register, where you have a person scanning your items, taking your money, and so on. And again, having a PDF that you need to print is another example of where you decrease your productivity if you do it the standard Business Central way. And I'm sure you can come up with many more examples where people would like the print to go out directly. Examples are, of course, also non-UI clients or not with no human interface. Like, for instance, if you have a web shop and you just have a printer in the warehouse printing out a picking or packing list, that's really important that can happen fully automated. So what are the benefits of using ForNAV Direct Print? Well, first and foremost, as it says here in the red box, and forgive me in advance, but I'm probably going to say this a couple of times during this webinar, but what we show you today is working for ForNAV reports, of course, but it also works for RDLC and Word reports, the standard reports in Business Central. So you don't need a single ForNAV report to make this work. It will also work with the standard reports that are in Business Central. And what we have focused on in our development of this product is the ease of installation. You don't have to have a science degree in data or anything like that to make this work. It should really be easy to set it up, and we'll of course talk about that in a while. It should be affordable, and also it should be very predictable what your cost will be. And of course, we should get around these security issues that Michael already addressed. So what we did is we actually took the standard Business Central functionality as a starting point, because you do have tables for printer management and printer selection in standard Business Central. The problem is that they still present the PDF as a step before doing the actual print. But we say, why not build on top of that? So we basically take the standard functionality and enhance that. And on top of that, we also made it possible to define your printers, so you can set things like what kind of paper, duplex, paper source, color, and what have you. So you have all these default values that you can use. When we had to look at the pricing for this, we said, well, why not just include it in the ForNAV license? So for all types of ForNAV licenses, the direct print that we will show you today is included. There is no additional licensing cost. There's no additional running cost for using the direct print. And this also goes if you want to use this for RDLC and Word. Well, then you simply buy a ForNAV license and then you are home safe, and there will be no surprises on top of that. Talking about the secure environment, our solution will stay within Business Central and Azure. So we are not using or sending any jobs or any documents to any external servers or services. Michael briefly mentioned the different email services that are available out there, and of course you can use them. But the problem is, depending on who they are, you're not really sure where these documents end up on their way from Business Central to the printer. They could actually more or less go halfway across the globe before you see the print. And part of the problem with that is, of course, the security. Michael mentioned that there are examples where people have actually grabbed this information and changed it a little bit before they send it back, like the account number and so on. But the other problem is, of course, again, depending on what kind of information you have on your documents, is that if you use such a service, you need to have a data processing agreement, at least if you're living in the EU. And there might also be other GDPR related issues that you need to take care of. All of that is no problem with our solution, because as mentioned, it stays within Business Central and Azure. So what is ForNAV Direct Printer about? Well, as I said before, and again, sorry for saying it again, but it is about printing ForNAV, RDLC, and Word reports. What we do is that we store the print in Business Central, and then we have a ForNAV Direct Print service that looks in Business Central and see if there are any print waiting to be printed, and then we take care of that print. That also means that we support all type of devices running Business Central. So if you have a web client running on Windows, it's fine. If you have it running on a tablet, on an iPad, or your iPhone, or whatever Android device you have, it will still print as you want it to. We also support background print without a user interface. There are some examples here with the NAS, with different APIs, scanners, webshops, but I'm sure you can come up with more examples yourself. We have full support for the printer attributes, as we talked about earlier, so you can select these attributes, and then they will be used when actually doing the print. And then as part of this, we have also built in tools for managing the print in case of something going wrong. So if there's a failure, you can restart the print, or you can see where it actually went wrong. And then finally, we also build in a load balancing feature. So if you want to, and if you have a large print job, you can actually let the print service send it to several printers automatically, so you balance the workload. And this works with all networks printers that are visible to the print server or directly connected to the print server. And a print server in this respect is a ForNAV Direct print server, of which you can actually also have several. So if you have a need for setting up several of these print servers, you can do that. But I think enough PowerPoint for now. I'm sure you are very curious to see what this is all about. So I'd like to hand over to you, Jakob.
Thank you, Jan. I'd like to start with saying that you're able to enter questions into this meeting environment, and we will take all the questions when we are done with the presentation. But you're very, very welcome to type in your questions already if you want. So, can you see my screen, Jan?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to the basic problem that we have. We have a Business Central environment. This one is running in the cloud, but it could also be an on-prem environment, but we will focus on the cloud right now. In here, you want to do a print job, and you want this print job to end up somehow in a local printer queue. So in this case, for the demonstration purpose, I have a local printer queue. This local printer queue is simply a printer queue for my local PDF printer, and I have set it on pause so that we can see all the jobs that ends up in the local printer queue. Otherwise, they would just simply be processed, and we would not be able to see them get here. So the basic thing about this demo is I want to show you how you can get print jobs from BC into the local printer queue. Okay, so let's start out in BC. And the way this works basically is that when we do a print in BC, we want it to end up in a print queue, and for that we have defined a print queue inside BC. The print queue is simply a table in BC that holds the document we want to print and some properties for the document, such as who created it, when it was created, and where we want it to go. So once we do a print, we want to be able to see the print in here. So which printer should we print to inside BC when we want something to go to the print queue? And in order to control this, we have something called direct printers in here. And in here, I can define a direct printer. In this case, I will call it my PDF. I check it as a print service printer, which means that when I print to this printer, the job will go into my printer queue. And I can select which local printer I want this to end up with. So in this case, the Bullshit PDF printer. Jan also said something about setting up paper bins and page formats and things like that. And this is all the extra information I can set in this printer here, but I'll leave that out for now and simply define my printer. So now I have set up a printer that I can use. So let's go back here and run just a sample report. And in this case, I can simply run the chart of accounts, which is report number 1. This is a standard RDLC report. So now I have set up my PDF printer and I can go and select it for my output like this. And I can simply click print. So this is it. And now I can go back to the print queue. Now I can see I have a chart of accounts on my print queue, and I can see the status of this is actually already finished. So where did it go? Let's go back to my local printer. Now I see this actual job on my local printer queue, which means that it was sent to this computer and it was sent from my computer to this printer. So yeah. So let's see this again. This time I will just do like a split view so that you can see it happens real time. I go back to running the report. Let's remove all this and run report number 1. And when I click print, it will show up here in a minute, getting processed by the printer queue. That was not supposed to happen. Sorry, did I click something wrong? Report number 1. I think I know what I did wrong. I forgot to choose the printer like this. Okay, I click print. And there you see it was spooling to this printer queue. Okay, so why do I have to select my printer all the time? And of course I don't. I can go to the normal printer management. As Jan said, this is fully integrated with the printer functionality inside BC already. So I can go into the normal printer management, select this printer, and say I want to set this as my default printer. And what this actually does is that it in the printer selection, let me show you that. This is also a standard functionality in BC. Now for my user, all the reports are set up to go to this printer. And Again, let's take a ForNAV report this time. If I select any report in here and I go report, run, now you can see this printer is already selected. So you don't have to set it up every time. So this is basically what this solution offers to you. So a little bit of background on how you set it up. Let me show you that when you run the installer, this is a link to the installer. I'll just show you quickly. Hang on a second. There you go. Now, when you run the installer, many of you know this already, that when you run the installer in development, in the development mode, then you get everything on your machine. But if you only want to install the direct print functionality, you can go and select the direct print service. This will install the service you need on your machine. In this case, I'll just quickly click cancel. But after installation of this, you will be able to see in your Windows Service Manager that you have a ForNAV Direct Print service running on the machine. This service is of course set to start when the machine starts, and the logical place to install this service would be on your if you already have a printer server in your organization, because that machine can see all the printers in your organization already. Together with this printer service, it installs a small user interface to be able to control this service a little bit. And in here, we have the ability to start and stop the service. You could also do that from the Windows Service control panel. You can see here the environments that this service is connected to. This service I have right here is it's set up to listen to an on-prem installation for BC19, and also the demo tenant that I just showed you where I did the demo. The way this is configured is, let's try to delete this connection just to show you how to set it up. I will delete this connection. And now, oops, that was not supposed to happen either. But now this environment is gone. I can go back to my Business Central and I can find the direct print setup. We have something called service keys, and this is part of the security in the connection between the direct print service and your PC. And from in here, you can download a configuration. This will download a configuration file. And once we click this configuration file, we can see that this environment shows up again. And now you're actually connected to this environment. Like Jan said, when you do a print, many things can go wrong. And we try to help you track this all the way from where it goes wrong and how you fix it. So let's just see that this, on the local machine here, we have information inside the event log. So if I go to the event log and look at this, then we have a ForNAV event log in here. I can see when the print shop service is stopping and starting, and I can see that it's handling print jobs in here. I can also go to the queue, print queue. And right now the status is finished, but in case it could also be that it would say error, and out here somewhere you would have a message telling what the error would be, and that could be, for instance, paper jam or whatever information we get back from the printer. So you can actually trace back where the error happened, and you can restart the print jobs if you want. In here you see that I keep my processed print jobs. I can also set it up to delete all the print jobs that are a success, so that I only can see the error jobs in here. So I think that was it, Jan, with the demo. And can you take the presentation back?
I think so. So thanks, Jakob. And I really like the nerdy way that you print a report by changing the URL. Cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully people can see my screen again and a nice picture of Jakob. I take that as a yes.
It's a yes.
So on top of what Jakob just showed you, we have two alternative configurations for direct print. One is the one we call client print and one is called server print. The client print, and I think I just need to minimize this a bit. So here we go. The client print, that's if you have well, it could be just one user who just need to use his or her local printer, or if you have a larger group of people, like let's say you have 100 people working from home and they all have a local printer. Maybe you don't want to set all those 100 local printers up as network printers, or you might have a team of service employees that are driving around the landscape, helping your customers, and they might have a local printer as well in the car or whatever, and you don't want to set them up as network printer either. So for those type of scenarios, we have what we call client print, and we actually had that for a while, but I just want to mention it here so you put it into the right perspective. That now also works with ForNAV, RDLC, and Word reports. Here we go again, same message, but I really like to stress this. There's also support for the printer attributes that we talked about and that Jakob showed you. The thing here is, for this to work, you need to install a small program locally, which means that this client print functionality only works on Windows devices, because we need that local program installed. And that was back to the when Jakob showed the installer, he ticked out direct service print, but you can also here select the direct client print. That's where you get that small program. The other alternative is server print, and if I'm a little bit rude, I would say that what server print is, that it actually does make the standard functionality work, because server print is really taking advantage of the printer management and the printer selection feature in Business Central, as we talked about earlier. So this works with all the network printers that are already visible to Business Central. You can select them, but again, instead of having the PDF, it will print directly to those printers. This only works on-prem, and of course it requires that you have a server printer, so you can see these printers that are defined on the server. And again, all types of reports, all types of devices, and this also supports background print without a user interface. So how do you get started with this? Well, we will also say that's fairly easy. You can get ForNAV, you can install ForNAV as Jakob showed you. There's a free trial. Those of you who know ForNAV, you know that if you don't have a license, we will print a watermark on the report saying this is a trial version. And that also goes if you just want to use this for RDLC and Word. Then we simply add that trial watermark on those reports until you have a valid license. So if you are on-prem, you download everything from fornav.com/download. If you are on a cloud solution, you need to get the report pack from Microsoft App Source, and then you download the client service piece from fornav.com/download. Let me just, while I remember it, let me mention here that if you want to use this with RDLC and Word reports, you still need to install the ForNAV report pack. You don't need to use any ForNAV reports, but the report pack is also what opens up for running RDLC and Word reports with Direct Print. As a second step, we have an overview on our website, fornav.com/directprint. There's also a link from the front page, of course, and there you can read about the scenarios, and there are also links to how you install it and how you get started with this. We will add videos on our YouTube channel, starting with this webinar, and then we will have a number of coffee breaks covering different aspects of Direct Print, and they will all be available on our YouTube channel. And if you like what you see, you can of course order a license to get rid of the trial watermark. Some price examples in this. Here we do it for cloud. So these are the standard prices that those of you who know ForNAV are familiar with. So either you pay per user a monthly fee of €7 or $8, or you can select, or you can choose to pay yearly, and then you pay for 10 months. So you basically get 2 months for free by paying yearly. And we have a limit. So if you have 20 users or above, the license will automatically become unlimited. So that's the max price you can pay for this. So as I mentioned earlier, we really want to have this price model that are affordable, but it's also predictable. So no matter how much you print, this will be the maximum you can get to. So with that, we should take some questions, and I saw there are already some questions. So Michael, do you have an overview of the questions at this point?
Yep. So we have a lot of really good questions. So
fantastic.
And Peter Tisma asked about if it's possible to transform document creator reports. That's a Dutch company doing reporting as well to direct print. And luckily enough, I had a conversation with Marnie Brommel earlier today, and she's going to investigate how document creator works. So we use an event inside BC that's called on document print ready. And if document creator is not using that, it should work. It also has to be on BC 18 plus, or it could be some of the 16 or 17 CUs, but we haven't tested all of them. Example, we know that BC 17 CU5 works, but not CU3. So Microsoft has changed something that makes it work in the newer CUs and also in 18 and 19. But in earlier versions, we really don't know. We haven't tested all of them. But document creators should work with this. I will soon know, and also let you know, Peter. Next question is if only local printers, also network printers, are supported. We support all printers connected to the machine running the service.
Connected or visible, right?
Yeah. Then Alan is asking about versions of NAV and BC supported. So maybe you should talk about that, and you can do this in your sleep. I know.
Well. Then I need a cheat sheet here. Actually, on our website, this is stated on a direct print. So if you take the cloud solution, it works with on-prem 18 and later, and of course cloud. That's always the newest version. So there's nothing there. So what Jakob showed works with BC 18 and later. The client print works with 16 and later, and of course on cloud. And server print works for NAV reports, it works from 14 or later, and for RDLC and Word reports, it requires 16 or later.
Actually, if I may interrupt, the server print actually works back to NAV 2013. with ForNAV reports.
Yeah, with ForNAV reports, yeah.
It's
okay,
been available as long as we have been around.
Yeah.
And of course, the reason for us not being able to support older versions is that the events that we are using didn't exist back then. So we tried to support as many versions going backwards as we could. Then Manfred is asking, what's the difference between the print service and client? Do you want to answer that, Jakob?
Yeah, the print service, that's what I showed you in the demo. So the print service is a Windows service running typically on one machine in your office that is connected to all your local printers. So this is only set up on a server machine on your local network, and it will communicate with the print queue in Business Central and then direct the print jobs to the correct printer, also including network printers it can see from where it is installed. The client print works in a slightly different way. Instead of having the print queue to work through, the client print will, when the user hits print in the request page, as a file is downloaded to the user's machine with an extension called ForNAV Print or something similar. And then a small local Windows program is associated with this file extension, which make it open automatically. And inside this file, you have the print job and information about which local printer to send it to. So this is why this requires a Windows machine to work. And it also requires user interaction, because you have to click. No, actually, it doesn't require user interaction, but it doesn't work for APIs and job queues. But you can also use it from code, of course. But it works by downloading a small file, which is then processed on the local machine. Whereas the print service is a central installation, and therefore it works with all devices. I hope that answers the questions. But it is a bit difficult to understand the different scenarios here. It also, yeah, the next question from Patrick is kind of related, where the question is if silent print is supported. And yes, silent print is supported. It can happen without a user interface. It can happen from code where you do a report.run. So all that is supported.
Then Peter Thyssen is asking about conversion possibilities for ForNAV. So most of people know that we can convert from Seaside classic report to ForNAV, and we beyond that we can convert RDLC reports. But really, our recommendation is that if you are happy with your RDLC reports, or here in this question, document creator reports, you should stay with them, because it's a big investment to basically clean up the reports afterwards. So if you have something complex and we convert it, it's probably going to be more complex. Move from classes, it's completely different because we clean up the code. So our recommendation is that if you have other reporting solutions on AL, then you should stay there. And of course, we hope that you use our direct print service with the reports you already got. Then Sasha Gregersen is asking about licensing, if the license is for each user that needs to print, or how is this, Jan?
So we basically look at how many users are in the NAV or BC license, and those two numbers need to correspond. But again, we have this upper limit of 20 users, so from there it's basically unlimited. So up until 20 users, you pay per user, and then it's fixed from there.
Yep.
This is based on all users on this BC installation. It's not only for those who wants to print.
Correct.
Yeah. So Alan Butterfield is, I don't know if there's a comment or has a question. We have clients running now 2016 to 18 with service tier in the cloud. But if you do that, you still have the RTC, and you can print using that. Of course, the web client back in these days could not print, so that's of course a problem, but the RTC should just work. So you don't need us to do that. Another question from Peter. Do you want to answer that, Jakob?
He's asking, so installing the ForNAV print service on a print server will support printing on all printers connected to this print server? The answer is yes. All the printers, all the local printers connected via cable, and also all the printers connected to the print server from a network. So yes.
Then Christian Brutzner is asking, are there any actions to do when updates ForNAV in a cloud solution? No, your reports will keep running and your custom layouts are going to keep running and your data is there. So you simply upgrade. And that's, we currently do that for cloud, but we're also moving to the universal app story on-prem, where you can do the same. And today with 6.2, we also ship an on-prem solution that upgrades automatic. Beyond that, on the ForNAV 6.2, we have enabled that you can, just by installing a new version of DLL, old 6.2 installations running AL will also point to that DLL. So if we make new features in the future, or we fix a bug, God forbid, then you can just install a new DLL, and your reports pointing to the old DLL will automatically switch to run the new one. Does it need a license in BC to run server version?
I think the answer is no. My guess is this question goes if you need a device license or something like that, and I can't see you need that.
No.
And if our answer is totally in the wrong direction, Henrik, please ask again.
So the next question is, the next question is the print queue for BC cleared, or is it getting fuller and fuller? So the short answer to this is that you can set up in the configuration for this if finished print jobs should be deleted, or if they should stay in the queue, so that you can delete them manually once in a while. So you know, when you're done setting this up and you know that everything is running as it should, you would probably switch to deleting all the finished print jobs from the print queue automatically, and then only have the print jobs that was an error stay in the print queue.
Yeah. Then Lorenz Fyl is asking about what about changing the printer in AL and report. You just do that. Report.print takes the printer name, and as you saw Jakob set up, you can just put in that name and your print will come out on that. So you can do that just like in the old days. Then there's a question from Christian Treptow. Do you want to answer that, Jakob?
I'm not sure I fully understand. It's a bit more technical background related to the generated files on the server side. Is it always a PDF to be printed, or does the print service receive the data set and layout? No, the local printer service receives actually a PDF plus some print job information, such as paper tray and paper formats and things like that. So he's asking because they do some post-processing with the generated PDF, stationary papers, additional pages and stuff. Actually, for the ForNAV reports already supports stationary paper, both by selecting different printer trays and also by applying a PDF with the background to your print jobs. It also, ForNAV also supports adding pages to print jobs. Of course, this requires that you are running a ForNAV report.
And we also support archiving, so that's part of the report pack that you get
Yes.
together with Direct Print. So can now Direct Print be integrated in a customized app by creating dependencies?
Yes.
Yeah.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Because it's just normal printing with one of these printer names that we define. So again, report.print, and then you're good.
And you don't have to create dependencies. So it simply works. You just print from your L code in your customized app, and then stuff comes out. And Peter wants to order a license with. That's great, Peter.
Thank you.
That's here.
How many environments on? So Peter, you need to test that we can run with a document creator. So remember that. How many environments on premise can be used with a license? That's a great question.
Yeah, well, as long as you are within the same. It's on-prem. Sorry. So as long as you run on the same NAV BC license from Microsoft, you only need one ForNAV license. Was that a clear answer, or was that kind of woofy? So the point is that we link to the Microsoft license. So if you can run several environments on the same Microsoft license legally, you can also run ForNAV.
I think that Heiko got the message because he wrote perfect. So
okay, good.
It was a clear answer.
Yeah. Okay. Henrik said thank you. So you did answer correctly, Jacob.
So, so Peter is asking about responsiveness. You want to talk about that, Jacob?
Yeah, it's most likely a second or two, I would say. So that's the short answer.
Yeah. Then since you can restart a print job, does you keep store copy of what's printed in the database, or will that reprint the same report?
It will reprint. Should I answer? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can.
So the job is in the print queue, and what you have in the print queue is the produced PDF document from running the report, which means that if you restart the print job, it will not run the report again. It will simply send the same PDF to the printer.
Yeah, and like Jacob talked about earlier, you can determine if you want to keep print jobs after they're printed. But anyway, if there's an error, it will stay in the print queue, and you can just restart it or send it somewhere else.
I
think this was the last question.
Yeah.
Fantastic with all these great questions.
Yes, thank you.
We like that. So last chance for any additional questions.
Oh,
I put on the how to get started slide again.
There's more. Yeah. Is that going to increase the database size a lot then?
Not if you delete the print jobs when they are done.
It's the same issue if you do archiving. So you have to figure out what to keep and control that.
But assuming that your print jobs will run as they are supposed to, they will be taken out of the print queue almost immediately and then sent to the printer, and it will not take up place in the database.
Yeah. Then Patrick has a new question. Every user has access to the print queue.
It's controlled by a permission set.
Yeah. So of course everybody can write to the print queue because otherwise they couldn't print. But you have to set up permissions to access the print queue because then you can download and read data from that.
Good. So while giving people the very last chance to ask questions, there was
okay,
one
wait.
Yeah.
There's more.
But wait, there's more. Yes.
Is it possible to access the ForNAV tables from an extension, or is it all internal? So the direct tables are internal, all of them, because we don't want people to be able to tamper with them. And overall, we have done a lot to make sure that that your data is on the Microsoft cloud, and if it's not there, it's simply on your local machine running the print service. So it's not anywhere else in the system, and it's locked down because this data is sensible, and even though people don't tamper with your data, you don't want to have trade secrets or your customer information floating out there. So it's locked down. Okay, there's even more. So
this is more about, Patrick is asking about, this is also permission related. So the permission sets that we have defined is a simple user.
Should ask a question.
Again,
yeah. You should.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. The question is, if a user can restart jobs for another user, this is most likely in a support case scenario where you have a supporter. This is also what Patrick asks in the next question. So we have basically two sets of permissions. One for the user who just needs to put jobs on the print queue because they are printing from PC, and then we have another permission set for users who are going to administer the printer queue. So let's say you have a supporter that should help a user with a problem, then the supporter has the right to administer the print queue and can go in and restart the jobs for the user.
I think there's one more from Peter Tisner. If it's able to use PowerShell to add the printers instead of adding them manually. So I guess, Jakob, not right now, but Peter, we can discuss offline how to do this moving forward.
And then we have a question about whether you can use the trial version without a new license, or do I need a granule? And you do, to run the report pack, you do need the ForNAV granule in your BC license.
If you are on-prem, yes. If you're in the cloud, you can run everything without additional licenses. But on-prem, you need the granule in the license to install the report pack.
And that granule is free, but of course there's work involved in getting it done.
Yep.
Wow, fantastic questions.
Thank you.
Good feedback. Thank you.
So let me close by restating this slide with how to get started. Download it, read the, I think it's a 1 or 2 pager, check out the videos if needed. And if you have any questions during the process, please send them to support@fornav.com. And we'd rather you send a question too many than a question too little. So if you run into anything, please ask us instead of getting annoyed that it doesn't work. That's hopefully a good explanation. So with that, I'd like to thank Jakob and Michael for doing this, not the webinar, but the product and the webinar. And it seems like no more questions. So to all the attendees, thank you so much for taking the time. And this will be available on our YouTube channel later for reviewing. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.